Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Are the Opera and Power with Gail.
And Jane.
And we're back with another episode. And today we're going to be talking about forgiveness. So, Jane, why don't we define forgiveness as you see forgiveness?
I see forgiveness as a process of, well, now more significantly, I feel like as easing my dis-ease in the moment when I used to think forgiveness was sort of that you got over what someone did to you and you forgave them. And over the years, I've had some pretty crazy things happen. And I really realized working on forgiveness that I had to forgive myself. So actually, it's one of the reasons you and I connect quite well is because in forgiving yourself, you realize you're a flawed human being with lots of anger and rage yourself. And when you, when I started to claim forgiveness, I noticed that it was far more about me and letting myself feel good and that all is well. And instead of directing this anger towards people and pushing them away and feeling like, oh, you did me wrong, la 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 la, and it seemed to be never ending reasons to. So I think forgiveness has changed for me significantly. So now forgiveness is about forgiving myself and allowing myself to feel at ease and okay with the world.
Right. And one of the with what we're doing, what we're talking about, the really important thing is an understanding that everybody is a thought or belief projected out of yours. So
Yeah.
if you want to talk logically, okay, that person, say my sister, she is a thought or a belief of mine projected out. So whatever she is doing is something that I hold in my consciousness. So if she's doing something that I don't like, or that doesn't make sense to me, or I don't think that way anymore, then how easy is it to forgive her if it's me that's the actual cause? And that's one of
Yeah.
the driving forces in what we're talking about is we are the cause of everything.
Oh,
I am
yeah.
the operant power does not, it's not about just, I get what I want. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you are
Yeah.
responsible for everything. That is why it's so effective. So
Yeah.
in forgiving my sister is very easy because I, I I recognize that if I'm angry with her or if I'm happy with her, whatever it is that I'm feeling, and I'm taking responsibility for that. So if it's anger, then I can't change her. I can't make her not do something. I can't tell her you can't do that around me. But we do that, and we that's where we get into this whole controlling, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
control freaks, right?
Control, control.
And I was talking actually with a friend of mine today because I'm noticing a lot of people that are starting to be open to the idea of taking full responsibility, all
Right.
very controlling.
Yes.
We all are. Initially, we all
Yes.
are. That's just normal. We're slaves to the
Yeah.
objective world, right? We're slaves to this world where we have to do what government says, what doctors say. We put all these
Yeah.
different entities on a pedestal, and
Yes.
well, they know more than I do. Like I don't. They went to school for whatever 7 years. They know more about my body than I do, and that's not. That's only because you believe that. The
Yes.
doctor exists because you believe that they have more knowledge than you do. So you've manifested a doctor. You've manifested government.
Right. Oh, that's such a good point because it's that objective to subjective viewpoint, and it plays a part in forgiveness, because
Absolutely.
the resonating feeling that you're having when you're angry at somebody is this idea that if it's out there, you're going to project out there, and that'll somehow solve
You're
the
going to
problem.
react. You're going to react.
Yes.
And that reaction is actually a creative movement,
force.
a creative moment.
Yes. Oh, it's a force.
To create more of it. And
Mm-hmm.
and like in my case, and I don't have an issue with my sister, just this is hypothetical totally.
Yes.
But if I react to my sister because I don't like what she's doing, then I'm creating more of that. Not only is she not going to change, but somebody else is going to come in and upset me. And then I'm going to react to that, and somebody else is going to come in and upset me. Oh, you want more? It's kind of like, you know.
Right. Yes.
Somebody can upset you. Well, here, have some more. And I mean, anger and fear are really intense feelings, right? So they put a lot of energy into it. It doesn't take long for it to show up.
Yes.
And so just when you talking about the subjective objective, what you see with your senses, with your eyes, what you hear with your ears, that's all objective.
Yes.
Subjective is what you feel and see and hear inside your mind.
Yes.
So
so it's also like a feeling, like if you can take that and turn it in, you can actually gain I feel like it's almost like the energy that you need to, because anger is such a huge energy. And if you can like bring it in, and even like
it's already
pardon?
It's already in.
Yeah, like, well, in your mind, when you're pushing things away, or pushing, like, if you think that other person has done you wrong, like throwing anger that way, if you can prevent yourself from doing that and think a little longer instead of reacting, because it's easy and almost like we're defaulted. Programmed. Yeah, we're programmed to react anyway. So if you could just take that extra, I don't know, even 10 seconds, like you always hear about, oh, take a deep breath. Even that, where, let's get some control. Like as soon as, because I've been doing awareness about where the energy is in my body too. And when I'm starting to notice that, it's easier to process it into something that doesn't have to be projected outwards.
Well, you can use it too.
Yes.
You know, if you're crying about something, the minute you say, I'm crying because blah, 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 my sister was mean to me, then you're attaching that to your emotion, and that's what you're creating. If I'm crying because I'm crying, then there's nothing attached to that. So there's nothing created with that.
Right. The narrative
is very powerful. So I'm crying because I feel so good, whether you do or not, that those tears that intensity of those tears can be moved into whatever you want. And that's all part of, you know, having control of your reactions. So even if you are angry, you know, where in your head, like, yes, don't lash out at people because that's not helpful. But what in your head, or what's the story you're telling yourself in your head? You know, I'm angry because she's a B, or I'm angry because, well, I don't know. Why would you be? What would a good reason to be angry be? One that would benefit you. I don't know. But you can, it's whatever you identify it as. You don't necessarily have to say I'm angry. Like, I see what's going on here and it's great. I love it. It's all part of my experience. Woo! And I don't know how many times I've said that this week. Life is about experience. That's all it is experience. When you can start to, and I did this a number of years ago because it was just getting
Yes.
overwhelming with like, should I do this? Should I not do that? What if I do? What if I make a mistake? What if I'm wrong in doing that? And then I just thought, you know what? Life is just an experience. Whether it's right or wrong, that's a judgment I'm making. I don't have to make that judgment. This is my experience. I'm going to do this because I want that experience. Doesn't make it right or wrong. Oh, my internet connection's unstable. Are you seeing that too? Gone. Back to stable. We're all stable now.
Yes, I was just gonna say that to you.
Um,
I'm stable. Things have
so it's
gone off.
just like just enjoy the experience. Don't attach good and bad to it. And we'll get into that when we talk about the tree of knowledge and the tree of life and what the differences are.
Yeah.
Judgment.
But forgiveness, yeah, and forgiveness also, just back to the main sort of view. Forgiveness is kind of a weird thing because over the years it's been I've kind of done, I feel like I was forgiving out there and then I started to forgive inside, not realizing they were both the same thing. Like, right? Like, not realizing they were both the same thing. And mostly that was just like you said, like, I love, like, just recreating, not falling into that narrative that it all had to be doom and gloom, even.
Right. It's just an experience.
Right. Like,
You have to attach things. The other thing with forgiveness, and Neville Goddard was the one that sort of coined this that I'm aware of. There may have been others, but he's where I heard it. Forgiveness is forgetting. And you have to remember that when you're forgiving, it's for yourself. Like, in not forgiving somebody because you're holding it against them or they don't deserve my forgiveness. They need to ask me for my, like, no.
yeah.
That has,
Yeah. That's an old narrative.
that's harming yourself, right? So, and the reason why forgiveness is forgetting is one of them, so you don't recreate. Because if you keep that as a memory,
You're cutting out.
I touched the wire. If you keep that as a memory, okay, and when you see that person or you think about if something triggers that memory, then you're recreating it.
Yes.
Because the emotions will all come back, right?
Yes.
So if you forgive, which means forget, then there's no triggers left.
Yeah.
There's nothing out there to make you feel that dis-ease that you were mentioning before, right?
Right.
Or if something does trigger it, with forgiveness, like, you're just like very neutral to it.
Yes.
And that's
also
reactions.
Yeah, well, yesterday for me, I had a moment where I was doing that thing where I was like, I was imagining that the person was against me, and I had this narrative of what kind of why, even like, oh, I'm gonna, like, I think I was imagining revenge or something. Oh, I'm gonna get you back because I remember you did, like, that sort of thing in my head. And I had listened to a YouTube video, and it was talking about how when you're doing that, it's like hitting yourself. You're trying to, instead of helping yourself, your head is just sort of chaotic. Yeah. So,
and that goes back
I caught myself.
When you react out, you're trying to have control of things you can't control. When you react within, what you're going to tell us about, that's you having control where the power.
Yes. Yeah. And I felt a shift in my body as soon as I remembered. I actually had that image in my head of I was hitting myself, and I was like, oh, And I was like, oh shoot, I don't want to hit myself. I don't want to do this to myself. I don't want to wreck my day. It's a beautiful day. What am I doing? What am I doing? So I did some forgiving. Like I was like, oh, like I forgive you for being like that. Instead of it being a narrative even for or against, good or bad, I just was like, I didn't change the thing. I just went, well, I forgive you for that. And I said, all is well, and thank you, God, for giving me all those blessings that you're giving me, because I pictured it as not even the opposite of what it was. I just pictured that I was at ease. All is well. So all is well isn't really a narrative. All is well is almost like a homeostasis, I feel like.
I like that.
And
I like that.
yeah, even with the breathing and just feeling in my body, that I was like, just let that go.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, don't attach to that. Don't attach to the narrative. And it's a lot, like I've had a lot of success in literally like switching my whole, like I feel like I just switched my whole physiology even. I was like, after that, I was like, oh, it's gonna be back to what I was doing, instead of being like, oh, like I don't know how to describe that, but it's almost like a
Well, you freed
physical
yourself.
state.
Oh, oh. I think you froze, Jane. Or did I freeze?
Yeah, you froze for a bit. You're good now.
Ah, it's internet. Um, okay, so what was I saying? Oh, I just
You
mentioned
freed
that you freed
yourself.
yourself from
Yeah.
that, whatever that experience was. So now it's whatever learning came from it, you've taken that, but you've left behind any of the stuff. So there's the no recreating of the stuff you don't want.
Yes. And it used to, well, I shouldn't say that. I find it I guess you could say forgiveness is uplifting, like in a sense, because it's like a higher uh not higher, it's because that doesn't really describe it. It's a more at ease feeling.
Well, and really you are lifting yourself up above what that perception of that experience was. And at the same time, you're lifting the other person that's involved in it and freeing them from it because they're held to that experience as well, right? If you're holding on to it, everybody that's involved in that experience is being held and chained basically to it. And that's what you'll never see a change in them until the change comes from you. And then they respond accordingly because they're attached to that.
Well, and that is, yes, and that is a very opposite message than I feel like I had in my mind originally. Like I used to think the power was out there. So gaining my own operant power of my internal decision making, not attaching to outcomes and being more because yesterday it was like I was attached to an outcome. Like in my mind, I was like, I want this outcome. I want it now. Why is all this mess in between? I can't handle this. This person's just doing this on purpose to irritate me. Like narratives, like the old, just as quick as that. They're just bam, bam, bam. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then I'm like, really? You don't think like that anymore? Because we talked about using that phrase. So I literally have these phrases that I hold in my little tool bag to bring out and go, you don't think like that. And even if I don't resonate with what I'm saying, I'll say it over and over a couple times, like, because it'll go back to And then I'll be like, okay, you don't think like that anymore. You don't think like that anymore. And then for a minute, I'm like, I do, but I don't think like that anymore. And then, uh,
That gives you
it,
an opportunity too, that I don't think like that.
yeah, like
An
it just gives you
opportunity to
that
step away
headspace to
for a minute
stop the reaction.
and go back to, and I mean, you can even go back to your understanding of how reality works.
It's like self-editing. It's like editing yourself. Like you're literally hearing something go through your head and you're
Yeah.
like, edit. Do I need that? What is that? Oh, let
Your own
that go.
program. You're creating
Yeah.
a program. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, there's talk um, about sort of ignoring feelings, and you just can't push them down and that sort of thing. And I think it's important to acknowledge that you did feel that way and be okay with it
Yes.
without judgment. There's nothing that says that we have to hold on to pain.
No, no, no. I
That
totally
we are,
cried. I was crying. While I was crying, I was doing that thing of don't attach a narrative because I'd hear the narrative come in and make me cry more, right? And then I'd be like, no, don't attach that. And then I can't. I was like, okay, not okay, good. You got it out. You're good. You cried. There's no narrative. Oh, I feel better now. And I almost feel better because I think letting your feelings out helps you feel better, which is another thing I was detached from. Just because I used to think, like you said, oh, just hold them in or manage them or do this. And then it's like, no, just cry. And it hurts. And there's no story. It just hurts. And I want to cry. And I'm crying and it hurts. And I'm crying. I'm crying. It's over. Now move like on to the next. I don't even know if it's like movement, even. It's just like, okay, well, that's done. What now?
well, it's a movement in your mind. You're
Yeah, I
starting,
guess.
for lack of a better description, I don't know that this is 100% accurate, but if you think about it, we have a program that we all follow. We all had it downloaded, when we took our when we started this experience in having a meat suit. And so what we're having to do is create new tracks. And that's why repetitiveness and persistence and focus on what you're thinking is so important, because these tracks that we came in with, they're pretty well, like they're pretty solid. So we're having to kind of go off to the side and create our new tracks, and it takes focus and it takes persistence, and it takes, the more you understand, the more you persist. For me, understanding what's going on and how it's working has been the key for me being able to, like, if this happens and I think, okay, well, that's me. um I don't really think like that, so I'm ignoring that, and they think like this now, or they did this or revise it or whatever. um but the forgiveness one is like I think Rita calls it a life hack, and she's absolutely right, because it looks from a bigger picture than having to go through individual things. I think my,
Yes.
like, you don't have to be sad.
Yes.
Nothing that says, say, if you break up with someone, of course, we all have human emotions and we respond and react, based
Yeah.
on our experiences and that, but we don't have to be devastated. You can be,
Right.
okay, that was,
Yes.
wasn't
Yes.
turn out quite like I had thought it might. Great experience, and now I'm going to move on.
Well, and I think that's the awesome part about self-awareness, because in owning those things, you start to eliminate a lot of enemies, because that's like, if there's a lot of people, maybe there is a lot of people around you that are malevolent and not very nice, and you
Well,
have to, pardon?
that's up to you, because they're
Right.
projection of
If
a,
you're,
or
well, yeah, and if you
story of
have to go through those things in your life, and normally do, because we all do, you'll be like, oh, okay, well, actually, I have, there's almost like, it's like I said, it's like revising, like if you're the person writing the story in your head every day, and you're the editor and you're the editor in chief and you're not editing, then maybe things come in,
Yep.
they,
Well,
I don't even want to say come in, but they energetic, they could have, like you said, a feeling attached, like a memory, a feeling. And yes, like at some point you have to be able to go, okay, well, that, I also feel like forgiveness creates this extra layer of resiliency, so that, you know, instead of automatically reacting at that thing, you have that moment to just gather your thoughts and be like, okay, oh, I see something happening here, you know, I'm good, all is well.
yeah.
And
I don't think it's a layer that it creates. I think it's just part of who we really are.
okay, yeah,
Oh, like,
you're
rather
able
than
to
creating
be that
layers,
thing,
we're getting down to the core.
right?
At,
And you're able to actually be present, be the thing that you are, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like stand, it's more of a powerful, like, I don't even want to say powerful stand, more of a stance in your well-being versus your reactive self that wants to react. Like you want that well-being, I'm okay. Because for me, it's always been like, I'm okay. I always have to come back to that practice. I'm okay. Everything's okay. As far as I know, all is well, all is well, all is well. Like a lot,
Yeah. Well, in
surprisingly.
this
But
moment. Yeah, rather than looking at, well, that happened, so that could happen. And what if they did this, then that could happen. And then you've got your memories creating, and you're creating a future that you don't really want to create.
and that takes up a lot of energy, and then it takes up a lot of your creative space in your head where you can't actually focus on the things that make you happy.
Well, you don't, not that you can't, but you don't, because you're so
Yeah,
focused.
you choose, and you actually choose that over doing the things, like for me, the things that I love are playing my guitar and writing poetry and painting, and like I have a lot of things that I love, and I notice I I'm aware of giving myself time for those things.
Mhm. Attention is love.
Attention. Yes, and
Exactly.
that
Magic.
feels, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, how would you say that ties into forgiveness?
Well, forgiveness is, well, according to Neville, forgetting. So that's not an issue. You've forgiven. You have no, um, you acknowledge that you don't think that way anymore. You lift that person, which means you see them how you wish they would be. And then you're able to let go. Everything's done. If you have faith in yourself, then what you imagine, is done. Once it's done in your head, it's done, and it's a matter, it needs to play out in the objective world, but you know that it's done. So there's no more focus required on that, because you've forgiven. It doesn't exist anymore. That person's lifted. You can go and do what you love. And
Right?
I
There's
think it, and I'm not really a proponent of going and searching for things to fix, because you're just creating more of that, more things to fix.
mhm.
This is more, if things come up, this is what you can do. Don't go looking for it. Stay focused on what you want. But if a trigger comes, if you're triggered or something comes up that um, is taking you away from your attention on what you love, then this is a way to uh, to deal with it, so you can get back to, like you said, what you love doing.
Well, and even if it's a hot bath, or like just taking a break in the day and laying down and giving your body rest, or like um
Well, all of that,
like,
your physical reaction though, comes from a mental imagining. So the only reason why a hot bath would work is because you believe a hot bath would work.
right.
So if
But
you
you have to have those
forgiveness to me is a
beliefs,
hot
right?
bath. What's that?
So do you kind of, you have to have those beliefs for yourself that,
Whatever
or
you want.
right. But what I mean is, do you have to have beliefs? Like, what if you don't have any beliefs?
Ah, that'd be perfect. The only belief is that you're loved. And then that's what you're manifesting. So that's what's coming back to you because that's what you're putting out there.
So,
But it's a challenge because we have this program since, we've taken the meat suit, and that's on purpose because it's a matter of us expanding our consciousness into going back home to that place of where we are just love. But
well,
we,
and
in fairness to us, I mean, we don't know, we haven't known, for 6,000 years, that we were creating all kinds of stuff that we were creating.
mm,
And that, again, that's, I think, by design. And at some point, and that's why I don't really get upset with things that are going on in the objective world, the sensory world, the ones where my physical senses, where I see them, because it's all part of, I just, the way I look at it is, you know what? I used to believe that. I used to fall into that trap. I used to buy into that stuff. And then one day I didn't. It's like, no, you know what? That doesn't make sense anymore. And so there's no reason to think that other people won't have the same experience. So I don't need to judge people that
right.
are considered to be sleeping or sheep or anything
Mm,
like that, because they're just in
right. Yes. Yes.
their experience. And they don't,
And that's really important.
the only effect they have on me is what the effect that I believe they have on me.
Yes.
We can coexist and I can lift them. If I find there's a little energetic, with something, then I just lift them. And in lifting them, I'm lifting myself.
Right.
Stay
Yes.
in that place of judgment.
Yes. And how do you, like, if you think about it, how do you hold on to, if you're doing that, that's why, if you have to hold on to all that anger towards people, or like, there's just no room left. It's kind of a,
You're only creating more of it. You're much
yeah.
what's really been helpful for me over the past probably five plus years is the understanding that this is just an experience and I'm really grateful to that person. I didn't like necessarily what I experienced it, but I felt enough, and this just came natural, and this was kind of caught me like, oh, well, this is kind of weird, but this is how I feel. Like I was really grateful to them for that experience. I learned a lot. I learned even more after the experience about myself, not about them. It took a while to sort of take my focus off of them and put it back on myself. But I learned so much about myself, and I knew I was grateful for the experience before I knew why I was grateful for it. And that, me being grateful then opened up the doors for me to be able to um, realize why I was grateful, because I found so much about myself, and not all good, not all bad, but it didn't matter because with just looking at it objectively, I was able to say, yeah, I used to think like that, but I don't think like that anymore. Now I blah, blah, blah. And so that's my new belief in myself. So, and this deals with sort of self-concept, which we'll get into in another video.
So how are we for time?
I think we're probably good to go.
Yeah,
We've done a lot of talking.
I know.
So,
You're good at that.
we go on and on. But anyway, so we'll stop it there.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to share their experiences with forgiveness, if you have any questions, like put it down below in the YouTube box thing or the
Hit the
video.
notify button. Oh,
Yeah,
how
I
come?
think we'll also be uploading to a few other video platforms. So, but all of them have where you can leave a message below. So, Love to hear from you, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Bye.